Hello everyone, in this video we're going to continue our exploration in order to achieve perfect marks for section A of paper 2 for the AQA Literature A2. We've already looked at the mark scheme and how the exam response is broken down. Let's now think about how we write and plan our responses. So if we're planning this response, a comparison of poetry, first of all obviously we need to underline key parts of our question. Then what you need to decide is whether you agree or disagree with the argument and briefly note this why. And then that essentially forms the argument for your essay. You want to be thinking about 3 or 4 ways in which you agree or you disagree, or more perceptively you have slight reservations about fully committing. You want to be looking here as well for your anthologies to think of at least 3 poems that you can use, but again remember what you don't want to be is pick lots of different poems for anthology and end up being sparse with your ability to explore. It's better to be picked 3, 4, maybe more poems than that. Then for each of the points you've noted down, use a poem to focus upon that idea. Analyse it, and then what you want to do is compare it with 1 or 2 of the other poems that you're going to be using throughout. What you don't want to be doing is systematically going through each anthology. That won't work for you. And remember, you need to think about the context, but there's not necessarily that need for it as well. Very briefly, if you're looking at analysing a poem, these are some of the areas of form, structure and language you could look at. Feel free to pause this and take a look. All these features are things you need to make sure you are expertly exploring. But remember, it's not just labelling the techniques, it's how and why it's creating the impression you're suggesting. Let's look at a question. To what extent, there's your argument, do you agree that poems, so there's your comparison, in this selection are anti-heroic? So this is not necessarily a question taken from your exam paper explicitly, but the methods are exactly the same. So when I'm writing this, how do I do it? So an introduction is where do I stand on the argument, and this can be introduced in a more subtle line of thought. What poems will you select, and then what feature will be the central focus here? So does the essay provide a structure or focus for you? So what I mean by that is what are you going to explore, what are the ideas that you want to highlight. In terms of your main body, your main paragraph, so again there's your 3 ideas, and you'll be thinking about introducing the topic, the point for your first poem, explore poem number 1, close analysis, alternative interpretations, context. Then think about how you compare that with your second poem, poem 2. What are the similarities and differences, how and why? Repeat that structure, maybe mixing up the poems that you're looking at, making sure all the way through your argument is there. It's very obvious for the writer, the marker rather, to see. When we've done that, we're going to move to our conclusion. Refer back to your question and the argument and discuss how the essay has helped to develop that insight. Consider ideas you've not exhausted, and maybe decide which of the poems you felt dealt with the argumentative point you were making more effectively and why. And that will help to create the structure you're talking about. So, thank you very much. Let's now think about what a perfect mark answer actually looks like when we're doing that in our next video.